O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hunting Collective. I'm Ben O'Brien, and today for episode number 21, I'm joined by Jason Matzinger and Sam Soholt. You guys should know Sam Soholt by now. He's the bus driving badass nomad that's been on the podcast a few times, one of my closer buds, somebody who I love just having to ride along to as many podcasts as I possibly can get him. He's a great dude. He's joined by his good friend and somebody he's worked with a lot, Jason Matzinger. Jason Matzinger is a Montana-born filmmaker, conservationist, just a great face in the hunting world. He's a Sitka ambassador, works with Yeti, does a lot of things in our space, and most notably points them all towards conservation. And that's why I think many other reasons Jason is an important voice to hear. So we caught up for a midnight beer drinking, pizza eating podcast in Bozeman, Montana, the night before the Total Archery Challenge. It was a great conversation about wild sheep, about how to conserve them, about how to better message for the wild sheep hunter. A lot of good stuff to dig into. So hopefully you do in episode number 21. Enjoy.
Shoot caribou.
Here we go. And we're on. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
Sam Soholt, photographer, bus guy.
Bus guy. Jason Matzinger, host of Into High Country and Project Elk, Project Mule Deer, and we're about to launch the Circle of Life.
Ooh, yes, that sounds good. Now, I always like to start, this will be fun. I like to start the podcast by describing where we are. Now, this will challenge your descriptive abilities, but Jason, give us a description of our current surroundings.
Well, I think it proves how dedicated we are.
It really does.
To getting it done. Right now we got a couple white robes hanging on the wall. We got a pretty big audience.
Yeah.
And we found a quiet spot amongst,
We did.
Amongst the chaos.
Yeah, it's chaotic out there. Total Archery Challenge is about to kick off.
Yep.
We're in Big Sky, Montana. It was a beautiful night, beautiful sunset. We had a photo shoot tonight.
Yeah, you did.
And just happy to be here. This is one of my favorite weekends all year. Of course, it's right in my backyard, and all the people that I love to surround myself with are right here for a few days.
Especially Greg, who is on the bed. We're just going to refer to him as only Greg. We won't even describe where he's from or what he's doing.
Greg's arrival's been highly anticipated by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
So
happy to have him
He's
here.
a bit of a big deal. He's resting a Coors Light on his stomach as he lounges on a hotel bed.
He's got the Yeah, I think he's scouting. Though.
Oh, is he
He's
scouting?
looking at maps.
Looking at maps, scouting his route out for tomorrow. Because he doesn't. Greg does not go by the course
No,
markers. He goes whatever
No.
target
He likes to
wants
go
the
go
mountain.
Yeah.
The mountain has always been Greg's treadmill. The first time I met Greg, that was the shirt he had on. It's been an ongoing joke ever since.
That's a nice shirt. That's a nice shirt. Well, yeah, this is the lovely. What's this called? The Huntley
The Huntley. Yeah.
Hotel. Shout out to those folks for making a hotel.
Yeah. You're right up
Yeah, with
next
AC.
To, yeah,
With AC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is okay.
Several chairs and then a table.
Yep.
Which is good. And
Yep.
electrical outlets, which are also helpful.
That does
in this
help.
Situation.
We
And
were,
there-
we were supposed to do this in the bus,
yeah.
but we couldn't find a spot to park it where I could plug in.
Well, listen. When you got a bus, that's bus problems, man.
That's right. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're living out of a bus, sometimes you got to make sacrifices.
I should have bought a shorter one.
Are you going to sleep in that bus tonight or no?
I might. Yeah, I might.
Oh.
I don't really want to share a room with anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a
We'll
lot of
see.
room.
I'll go assess the situation.
The
over
feeling
at
is
the-
definitely mutual. Trust me. No, the smell.
I know. The snoring and the smell.
Listen,
Yeah.
we're going to get deep into conservation talk, but a pizza will be delivered at some point during the podcast.
Yep.
So maybe we'll have the pizza delivery person come in and make a guest appearance
ask them
as well.
some questions. Yeah.
Hopefully.
See how they feel.
We're
about
hoping to score
conservation.
some coupons
Yeah.
based on our promotion of the pizza place. What was it,
Well-
Greg? What was the pizza place?
What I am excited about is I've never had a pizza with Wagyu beef on it.
Is that what we're getting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a lot of, what's it called? Pizza Works. Now, Works is WERX, I hope. WRKS. Screw the vowels.
Yeah, just right to it, man.
All right. Well, Pizza Works, Big Sky, Montana. Thanks for providing. We paid for it, but thank you for bringing it.
What was the official name of that pizza? What kind?
The Guido.
The Guido.
And no
Yeah.
offense to any Guidos out there.
No, I suspect it'll be a hell of a pizza.
Yeah. Was
Actually,
it Wagyu beef
Wagyu
meatballs?
beef meatballs?
Meatballs.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And interesting. A lot. They got a lot of Wagyu beef in Montana.
Yeah.
Probably
It's
so.
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
You
Just
know,
cows get massaged all over
Yeah.
the national forest.
well,
Yeah.
happy cows are good cows, you know.
That's true.
So
That's true. One more point before we begin. The real reason we're here. Sam did say that every time we've podcast together, we've been drinking, and that we have to burp out the left side of our mouths to prevent
Away from the microphone.
away from the microphone.
Yeah.
So
So if any of you hear like a little bit of clicking or like mic noise rubbing, it's just trying to shift the mic far enough away so you don't.
yeah, because if you listen to like a 2-hour conversation and like the 5th time that happens, you're like, what?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
What's happening in there?
If you go back and listen to the Lanai recap,
There's a lot
there
of
was a
that.
lot of
I
that.
think we addressed it there as well. I
Yeah,
feel like
we
it's
did.
only appropriate to address that going into it.
Yeah.
That there is there will be beer burps, and it's Corona. Shout out to hopefully Corona will sponsor this podcast at some point.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
I don't know why either. I'd do beach interviews. I would wear a bikini. I don't really care. So, sheep hunting is awesome. That's my segue. I don't even have any real segue other than to say sheep hunting. Jason, you got a great opportunity to draw a once in a lifetime tag here recently.
Twice.
The what?
A once in a lifetime opportunity twice.
yeah, this is
Kind
the
of guy we're
second
talking
time.
about right here.
Yeah.
That's kinda
Yeah.
what we're talking about. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I drew a bighorn sheep tag in 2006 here in Montana. And fortunately, here in Montana, it's not once in a lifetime. You know, we've created enough opportunity for us to get back out there. So every 7 years, you can reapply. I had, I think, 4 or so points. Not the best at math, but it was somewhere right in there. And drew again in one of the premier units in all of North America. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those tags that's, you know, there's no words for it. It's
Yeah.
it's as good as winning the lottery. You know, like when it comes to auction tags, the most expensive tag ever sold was for the chance to hunt bighorns in Montana. And that was in, I believe, 2013 at the Wild Sheep Foundation. It went for $480,000.
Yeah, I honestly get chills just driving down the canyon here along the Gallatin, and I just saw a sign that said sheep crossing.
Yeah.
And I was like a
I
little
love
kid.
that sign.
Yeah. I was like a little kid. I was like, I told my wife, Hannah, look, a sheep crossing. She's like, whatever. Be quiet. What's that mean? I'm like, there's sheep here. It's even to me, even to be in country where, especially in the lower 48, where you can run into a bighorn, especially this magnificent country.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of times around here, you'll end up seeing them driving up. They'll be hanging out right next to the road.
Yeah, I've seen that. Not in Montana, but Colorado, I've seen that a bunch.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
No, they're just such a iconic animal for North America, and I wish more people had the opportunity to actually be around bighorn sheep because they are.
Come in.
Yeah. Oh, pizza arrived. Pizza guy's here.
Pizza guy's here.
What's
going on,
How's it going?
We knew you were coming. That's fantastic.
What? Appreciate that. Yeah,
thanks, man.
That was quick delivery too.
That was.
Ooh, shout out to Pizza Works.
Look at that.
Don't sell yourself short. Still, oh man,
that looks good.
If the end of this podcast gets a little sleepy, you'll know we're about to eat some bread with a lot
so we're
of
gonna have
meat
to take
on it.
turns like pushing the mic away and
just like damn. All right, this is getting good. It's getting good real early. I like this. We're gonna need more beer though, Sam. I think maybe.
How many we got?
What you got there?
We got
a
couple left at least.
Be all right.
Yeah.
When you draw a sheep tag like that, I mean, what's your knowledge of the area? Like, how much have you thought about that? I mean, it's a dream tag, but is it enough of reality going into that you've already scouted and thought and understood what it is?
I mean, only because I had it before.
Yeah.
The first time I drew it, I can relate to that because I didn't have a clue. I mean, you're going into no man's land. I've always heard about the area. I've hunted around it for deer and elk, but I've never dug into it for sheep. So, it takes a whole other brain when it comes to approaching a sheep hunt versus an elk hunt versus a deer hunt, even if you're hunting them in the same terrain. So, it was all foreign to me. I remember the first thing I did was Duncan Gilchrist's video on how to field judge sheep was one of the first things I got at the time. Duncan was still alive and I ordered it from him. Great DVD. Taught me a ton about, because the first time I went out there, every sheep looked giant. Those they're just so impressive looking.
Yeah.
Until I watched Duncan's videos, I didn't really get a grasp of how to break them down like, an elk or a deer or something I had been around a lot. So there was definitely that kind of side of it as just, what was a young ram, what was an older ram, what are growth rings, what are not growth rings, just all of that. But then, the area itself, at that time, there wasn't onX maps. Fortunately, the Fish and Game does send out did at the time send out maps to the tag holders and kind of gave you an area or idea where to start. And from there, it was just about digging in and just putting boots on the dirt, and started finding rams, and one leads you to the other, which leads you to somewhere else. And, next thing you know, you got a few areas that you feel pretty confident in.
Yeah. What kind of ram are you looking for?
Any animal I hunt, it's just the one that gets me going. There's no picture in my head of what that animal is. It's just, how it is when you're out there hunting and you're trying to convince yourself that's the one, that's not the one.
Yeah.
So for me, when all of a sudden I see an animal and my heart starts beating and I not even thinking straight, trying to figure out the next move or whatever, that's what I hunt for.
Yeah. Can you that's a good thing to delve into a little bit. And we should all try to explain it because I don't know that you can. When you see an animal and your heart starts beating, you're like, that's the animal I'm going to kill. a lot of times you can see like, that's the biggest elk I think I'll ever see on this piece of property or wherever I'm hunting, or the biggest sheep I think I'll ever see. Of course, you never know, but like you said, sometimes you just look at an animal quickly through the spotting scope, be like, that's the one, let's go, shoot her, go now.
Totally. And I think, it's a combination of the animal and the scenario. Sometimes it's just everything aligns and you just, the bow goes off and you really don't even, or the rifle or whatever. And you look at each other like, what just happened?
That just happened. Yeah.
I think a lot of times that's with the scenario too. I mean, if you're in this epic location and you've maybe pre-scouted it and you've never been there, and then you end up in this spot, next thing you know, this animal just presents this beautiful, opportunity. It just hits you, and it may be way smaller than you pictured it in your mind. It may be way bigger and you just get lucky. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's a combination of the animal, the point of the season in which you're at, the location. It's just all these factors that just sort of just hit you,
Yeah, I always wonder like how much social media and how much our expectation of what other people are how other people might judge what we do.
Well, I'll tell you, with the sheep hunt, that becomes real in a hurry. Elk, antelope, anything else, it's not that. But when you get that tag, you start to, or any special tag that, a lot of people would like to get, you start to feel like to some degree you're hunting for everyone else too.
Yeah.
And we touch on this in the film tomorrow, or Saturday, sorry. Like you feel like you're kind of the ambassador for your friends because they live vicariously through you. And so you want to hunt as hard as anybody else would, and you want to get as good a sheep as anybody else would, and you want to, work for it like anybody else. You want to earn it like anybody else, So you do really, that comes into effect. For elk, for me, for deer, I feel like it's not hard for me to hunt for me, and I think that comes with, I've got great partners in this industry. It's not the days of 15 years ago where you got to show X amount of minutes of a sponsor or anything.
Yeah.
Like my sponsors are great partners. They build great products and they just let me do me. It doesn't matter. My first 2 episodes this year, Sam and I worked our tails off this fall. And I got the opportunity at a bigger bull than I've ever got in my life, and I missed it. And I made a 2-part episode out of it where we went home with nothing. And I'd love to be able to tell that, and not have to feel any pressure of I've got to get X amount of animals, or I've got to kill this animal, or I told myself over 10 years ago when I first started doing this, I will never kill an animal to make an episode. If I'm not feeling it like what we're talking about, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we talked a lot about Steve Ranella, one of his brothers, I think it's Matt, came up with this idea, maybe not original to him, but of a purity score for hunting. And he was like, I just have a purity score. I could sit down in front of the animal and like, what's the feeling? Like, what do I feel? How pure is this? Am I thinking, I got him, but man, I'm not sure that was I'm not sure it was day 2. Shit. Maybe it should have been day 5, or maybe it should have been day 7. And for me now, hunting, I like to just, when it happens, sit down and like feel it. Does it feel right?
Absolutely.
Am I second guessing it? Am I thinking, man, I don't think people will think this is big enough, or I'm not sure I worked hard enough, or I got lucky. Shit, I don't feel right about it. And just judge that, and each time try to get to a higher score, like just get to the next level. And like you said, when you're in this industry, I'm sure you and Sam, same way, you get all these invites on like, come on this hunt. It's a dream hunt. You're like, well, what kind of hunt is it? It might be a dream hunt for you. I might think it sucks. Or I might kill a giant elk and feel like, oh, that was cheap.
Yeah.
I've done that a few times. You kill like a bull that as a kid I would have never thought that I would even got close to. And you shoot it and you're like, well, yeah, okay.
Like that was awesome, but it didn't, you like didn't earn it enough or something.
Yeah. Or we were making jokes coming in here. Like, I love those DIY guided hunts where they're just like, the guides like shoot it and then from there it's DIY. Yeah, that all plays into it. But at some level, you know, I'm sure a sheep hunt is just a next level. You amp up all these feelings and all the things that go into it.
It is. It's just everything is because, I mean, I waited until there was 9 days left in the season. We'd been there almost 30 days filming, hunting. The camera crew was there more than me because I'd go back and see my boys and then come back and they would continue to get content and stuff. But like, it was, you know, when you have a tag like that, it's just, you've never hunted long. Like, you never want it to be over. The situation's never good enough. You know, you hold it on such a pedestal.
Well, I think the cool thing that you did last year with that sheep hunt is, so we went up and scouted for a few days in August, kind of right toward the end of August. And I mean, personally, I couldn't believe just sitting on one glassing knob and we were looking at
all those rams,
5 or 6 different sheep that were Boone and Crockett animals. I mean, just big sheep. I mean, the country is beautiful. You got all these big sheep running around, but from day one, your whole goal with that hunt was to soak up every second of it and make it, like, let it last as long as it needed to last, and like just embrace like the whole hunt instead of like, okay, I'm going to go in there and like, I'm going to, whatever it takes, I'm going to, you know, knock one down as early as possible.
Get the biggest sheep I can or whatever. Yeah.
And that was never it. It was always just like, I'm just going to go, like, this might be the last tag I ever draw in Montana for sheep. And I'm just going to go let that just be in that moment for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
Do you feel doubly, like, I always, as somebody in the industry who at some level it's my job to go do stuff like that, not sheep hunts, of course, but just hunting in general. I feel like it's not a guilt, but it's just like a responsibility to enjoy this thing and to put all myself into it, because there's a whole lot of people that would give anything to be doing
totally. That's
what you're
exactly
doing. So you got that, and then you also have what we were talking about earlier is the pressure of, I'm representing everybody with this tag that would desire to do this or puts time and energy and money to do it. And so you have the double responsibility of those two things at once.
Yeah, it's really all the pressures you feel of hunting, no matter what it is, are just magnified on a sheep hunt. And I do appreciate, you know, you saying that, Sam. It was, you know, I saw a lot of bigger rams than the one I got. And I'm not saying like by any means I'm upset with the one I got, but it always was about soaking it up. You know, I wanted to really get to know sheep. I wanted to really live in that country for as long as I could. I wanted to really understand the animal.
Well, and because you did that, you were able to experience things last fall that people, like even sheep hunters, will probably never experience in their entire life. Like that whole scenario when you guys were on the boat filming those sheep, like the sheep had another sheep like basically buried in the hole, like guarding it. And, and then like 10 minutes of unbelievable sheep footage. I mean, I just got to see like little snippets of it, and it's just crazy.
Let's
insane.
Take a quick break. Greg broke the seal on the pizza. What are we feeling? We feeling good on that? Is it good?
Wagyu's.
It's hard to eat with the microphone. We'll have to take turns eating while someone else is talking.
Yeah.
Apologies to the audience, but this looks really good. We're about to eat it. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. It was just because, you spend that much time out there, you give yourself the amount of time. You give yourself the opportunity to have things happen to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Instead of rushing through it and just being able to appreciate the whole hunt.
It's funny because every time I've ever dedicated myself like full on to one of these big films for a conservation organization, I always feel like I get blessed with opportunity I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may sound weird, but like right after we decided to do Project Elk, amazing things started happening. And I don't know if it's because I was focusing more on that animal, but I'm just like, I just felt like they were these gifts, like, oh, you're going to, you're doing something good. Here, look at this.
Yeah.
And like what Sam's talking about, I mean, you'll see it in the film. It's 9 different rams had one ewe, and she wasn't ready to breed. So she went in this tiny little hole in the side of the mountain, and she wouldn't come out. And this one big ram wouldn't leave her alone, but he wouldn't let any of the other rams get near her as well, and so it's this whole scene of him bashing heads with other rams, running around the circle, trying to get in there with her, trying to get her out. Another ram actually gets in there with her when he's chasing another ram off, and he comes back and just starts pounding on him. And it's just an insane scene. And finally, he hooks his horn behind her horn and basically drags her out. And she's got no choice. She just takes off up the mountain, and this whole minnow trail of rams trying to follow her up the mountain is just...
Just tell me you guys put yakety sax in the background. But now,
it was just,
yeah, it's stuff like that.
Incredible.
You just can't. There's no way to describe, getting to a place far away from everything and seeing something like that.
Yeah, it was one of the most memorable experiences I've had of being out there.
How far away from that were you?
A couple 100 yards. Yeah,
that's and.
Like Sam says, these rams, we're passing up rams that would easily make the record book, Boone and Crockett, Pope and Young, whatever, every day. You're not looking at just any ram. These are, the new hunter harvested world record ram came just out of an area north of where I was hunting last year. So,
well, because we talked a lot about the average amount of days that a sheep hunter in Montana will hunt before they kill a sheep, and it's 3 days.
Surprisingly low.
It's
3 days.
Yeah, it's because there's the population is growing, and there's all these big rams, and guys can go out and hunt for a few days.
They'll scout. Yeah,
scout a little bit, and then you find a few. You can get on a good knob, and you can find a good sheep, and then you go in there and you can kill a Boone and Crockett sheep.
Yeah,
in a couple days.
First day, Sam and I went scouting. We saw. I know one of the rams was. I know two of the rams we saw that day ended up being taken by other hunters, and they were, 190 inch plus rams.
Yeah,
You gotta feel. The only sheep hunt that I've been a part of was in Northwest Territories this last year, and it sucked. It was a wonderful hunt. I didn't have the tag, obviously, but it felt like because you were limited in days, a lot of those hunters ended up going there and then coming back the next year, or going home for a month and coming back. They're hunting 10 days and not getting it done. It just felt like that seemingly arbitrary amount of days that the outfitter decides, well, that's your days.
Yep.
Or that's how much this many days cost. It seemed like, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because around day 7, you're just that feeling that you get when you see the one gets to be pretty artificial. You're like, man, you have to. But for you could go home, see your kids, dedicate your time, and do it the right way, which is the fact that you were dedicated to filming all that. I think is it's quite the gift for everybody that gets to watch that film.
Oh man, I feel like the lucky one though, and I'm just excited for everybody to see the film. It turned out great. I've kind of got choked up, every time I watched it here since we've gotten it polished, and just can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah. No, I remember when you were doing it, you were like, well, we've been out here 27 days. Probably should have shot one on day 6, but I'm an insane human. No, there's just levels to hunting, in my opinion. There's just what you're willing to do, what your true dedication is to it, and how you display that's important.
Yeah.
Especially for guys like yourself and Sam, same. That people are watching to see, and they're looking for, I think especially on social media nowadays, people are looking for inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much garbage out there, not, necessarily in any one area. It's just a lot of noise in the world, negative for the most part. You flip on the news, it's negative. You look at the newspaper, it's negative. It's just so refreshing to see people out there living this life in beautiful places and doing what they love. And, I think it is inspirational for people. And there's definitely different levels, and whatever level that is that, gets you out there, I think that's great. Legal, ethical. There is all kinds of different levels. If you want to hunt a water hole, or if you want to hike to the top of the biggest mountain around. You can do that here, and that's the beauty of it. So there's something for everybody, and yeah, we live in a great place for it all.
Montana.
Yep.
Good Lord.
And we are right in the middle of it right now.
What a wonderful place.
It's hard for me not to laugh when you're like, right in my backyard. It's technically right in my backyard too, where we're at. I just don't spend much time here.
Yeah, let's stop for a minute and just.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Sam, when are you going to settle down? Jason and I are a little bit just concerned. We haven't talked about this, but I'm just assuming he's also concerned.
I feel like you're not the only people that are concerned. I've been living.
Yeah, I've been talking to your parents. And,
trying to think of what somebody called me. What did Steve call me earlier? He's like, "You have a home base, or are you just a hobo hunter?
Traveling gypsy?"
No, it was
hobo
hunter.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, at some point, I think I gotta. I love all the travel and stuff and love what I've been able to do, but at some point I'm gonna have to slow down a little bit. At least, I'll probably never stop traveling, and I'll never have a normal job, probably. Yeah. But it's been fairly chaotic the last 6 years.
Next year you go short bus and then shorter bus. And eventually you get a house,
a van.
Eventually a van.
So we're gonna go from public land full size bus to public land short bus to public land Prius.
Yeah, we figured that out.
Yeah,
you could do a little round yurt off the side of the Prius.
Yeah.
No, this is a state land only. Period. This is walking area Prius.
Yeah. It's cool though what Sam has done, because he's taken off, promoting what we all love, but just in such a unique way, and something that you and was it your brother and your buddies kind of talked about, and you just hit the full send button and went for it.
Yeah, because I had even talked the first time that Ben and I ever met, I was telling him about I wanted to buy a school bus.
28 years ago. I don't know how long.
Something like that. But the bus idea started a long time ago, and I was the one dumb enough to buy one. So no, I've been very happy to see how that project has progressed and like just the following that it has. And I'm just a small voice in the fight to keep public lands public, and it's been cool to see kind of people rally behind that and want to do more just because they've been like, I've been try to help educate people about what's going on.
Yeah. I'd like to see a behind the bus, like a reality show.
Yeah. You can line it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to find the film crew to take care of that.
Well, like you say, just bringing awareness to it has elevated people's interest, you know, and that's what you set out to do. I remember when you were talking about it, and it's just cool. It's been cool to follow along and see your journey and your dedication to driving that across the country to different places, to these events like here. I mean, the bus is parked right out here, Total Archery Challenge. People can come by and check it out, you know.
That's awesome. It's like you distill your passion and your view of the world. As we've talked about this before, it's like people ask, like, how do you get to where you were? You're like, I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. If I knew, I would have just been like, got there quicker.
Right.
I would have been there right off the bat. But like, I'm super passionate about this thing. I have a mindset where I'm happier when I'm not tied down.
Yep.
Next thing I know, I have a bus.
Yeah.
But that's just this distillation of your passion as well as the way you view the world and what makes you happy. Mm-hmm. And if you chase that thing and it turns into a public lands bus, or it turns into a TV show and films about conservation, I think those things are all to be admired just for those reasons. Like, you've allowed your journey to lead, to go that way because you want to chase your dreams, and you don't allow shit to get in front of that.
No.
Yeah. And I think, like you were saying before, I think once you become kind of hyper focused on one goal, I think you start to see the doors that open in front of you, and you like, it's not one decision or another that takes you to that path. It's a million small decisions. Yeah. And but once you're, like you said, you're really passionate about one thing, and then this opportunity kind of pops up, and you just go that way a little bit, and then this opportunity pops up, and just kind of
people see that passion, and you meet more people, you shake more hands, and
I can't
more
remember
doors open.
I was talking to about a 5-year plan. They're like, wow. I was like, Sean DeGray. He's like, here's my 5-year plan. I was like, listen, man, I don't know. I don't have any 5-year plans, because I feel like if I'm my 5-year plan's out here and it's something awesome's going on, outside of my purview, my 5-year plan, I might miss that shit. If I've already made goals too far down the road. I just like to have a passion and just like jump into it. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Because if you try to get yourself into a position where this is how I'm going to succeed, or this is what I need to do, you're going to miss some stuff along the way that doesn't fit into the plan that you made.
And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have like kind of an overarching goal, but like to have like a step-by-step something laid out. Like that's tough.
Dude, you might, especially in your case.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like an analogy would be like, I was talking to you about some of these photo shoots, and I'm like, man, I feel like these guys that are so worried about being at a certain place at a certain time miss a lot of the best stuff. And I think that's like, relative to what we're talking about. If you're only thinking about one thing and one time, you're going to miss a lot of the good stuff. It's like life is what happens when you're busy making other plans, you know? And so it, like Sam says, it's great to have, a goal of, I want to, make a great footprint for my kids, a foundation, send them to college. You got to have those goals, but to think like this is exactly how this needs to happen, or it's not going to happen at all. No, I mean, my journey's evolved so many times throughout my short little time of doing this. Like, but it just keeps getting better because we're passionate about what we do, and you meet other people who are passionate. I mean, that's what brought everybody in this room together, is our passion.
We're not sure what brought Greg to this room other than the pizza.
I think the pizza.
And Greg, he's on the bed, but he's got his shoes on. Greg's non-committal. He's on the bed, but has his shoes on.
Well, they're hanging off the edge, though.
They are hanging off the edge. It's polite of him. Hanging off the edge.
It's not like he's getting.
Was the pizza only good enough for one slice?
Don't worry. Just
it's double sliced.
Get in there. Don't be nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of chewing to be had there. That's a lot of animal protein sitting on top of that pizza.
Extra meat lovers.
Yeah, it's a lot of meat on there.
What is that? Is that prosciutto?
I think that's mouse backstrap.
There's tomato basil. There's tomato basil on there because I know every item started with
The
that.
base
as
of the
if,
pizza.
you
Tomato
know,
basil.
we didn't know that was.
Well, here's what we do, boys. We take some bread, we throw it up in the air, we put it in the oven, put some sauce on it, and a little bit of cheese. After that's up to you.
We look at it a whole different way than everybody else.
Pizza Works. Thanks, Pizza Works.
Pizza guy, he said, "Are those guys on the like CB with the truckers?"
Is that what he said?
Yeah, we're on a police scanner, just seeing if they're closing in right now.
I wish. I do wish that's what we were doing. Is on a CB with truckers, like outside the hotel.
Maybe I'll start a podcast where I'm just on a CB with truckers the entire time. Just record it. That'd be good.
Random conversations with random truckers.
Just convincing truckers like pull over, man.
What's my handle? Ooh. Let me think about that for just a second.
Bus God 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bus Lord.
Bus Lord. Yeah.
All right. What were we talking about before?
Oh, we were just talking about, how your passion kind of ends up opening doors for you didn't see and leading you in directions you really didn't see. And I, had a pinch myself moment. I was talking to Greg on the drive up from Bozeman, and I was like, who'd have thought, right in my backyard, I'm launching a film that's supported by arguably the biggest, best companies for what we do. Right here with all my peers, I'm like, how did this happen? Like we're talking. I mean, fast forward 10 years and here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like you, several years ago, my mom passed away, and I just remember my dad saying, live your life. If you don't have the money for it, who cares? Do it. If you don't have time, plan it and live it, because you'll regret it.
Yeah.
And that's what I do, and obviously I want to have a way to work things out if things don't go right as planned, but I'm all about just committing and giving it everything you got, and it's just never really backfired on me.
Yeah. And there's another thing. I generally disagree with people saying like, be your best self. Like, fuck you. Like, listen, I'm going to be a better self than I was yesterday. Like the only thing that you can truly compare yourself is to the person that you just were. Like whether it's last year or 10 years ago or 10 years before that, like that's really the only thing you can do. Because if you start being like, I got to do this, even as a hunter, like you've hunted a long time. Everybody at this table has hunted since they were kiddos. You're never going to know everything. You're never going to be the best hunter or even the best version of the hunter that you will be. No. But you'll be, if you're dedicated to it, better than yesterday. And if you're better than yesterday, well, hopefully when you're at the end, you'll be like, damn, that's pretty good. And it was pretty good because I didn't try to achieve something, some shiny star. I just was trying to be better than yesterday.
Yeah.
It was never good enough, which can be torturous, but it also can be pretty damn good. If you get to points where you're at, you're like, dude, I worked and worked and worked, and all of a sudden I looked around, I was like, holy shit, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And like that moment is worth 10 years of work.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth a lifetime as far as I'm concerned. And what's funny is you keep hitting these moments where you're like, man, life is so good right now. How's it going to get any better? And then 6 months from now, you're like, my life is so good right now. How's it going to get any better? And then fast forward 6 years, you're going, dude, how did this happen? My life is so good. How's it going to get any better? And it's like, I think that's just, appreciating things too, and never taking things for granted. I mean, I've lived at, virtually the base of Lone Mountain my entire life, and I stare at that mountain every second I get a chance, and I think it's appreciating people and opportunities and places and sunsets and smells. And, I think that is what keeps people just passionate right to the end. If you ever take it for granted, then
I always ask that to people that live in places like Bozeman. Like, do you ever just like Like, yeah, there's mountains, whatever, fine. I've seen them every day for the last 20 years. Like, because I can't imagine that ever happening to me. You wake up, you're like,
they always
thank
look
God that's
different.
there.
The
Yeah.
lighting changes,
Yeah.
like in 5 minutes, a different mountain, and the cloud. I mean, it's ever changing.
Yeah, I find myself being relieved by the fact that they're there. Like, I wake up and I'm like, they're still there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not dreaming. I'm still in Montana, or I'm still in Colorado. I'm still in wherever you are. Well, there's this beautiful landscape. It doesn't have to be mountains. It could be the ocean.
Yeah,
Just as well.
but
It's like,
I mean, the
God,
Badlands
it's
is
there.
beautiful. The
oh yeah,
the prairie's beautiful. It's just appreciation for
When I first
for
moved
every
to Montana,
moment of life and the people around you.
yeah, when I first moved to Montana, I lived with some buddies out in Belgrade. In the room, we rented a house and kind of out in this new development area. And the room that I had faced to the east. And I would never shut the curtains because every morning I'd wake up to sunrise coming up over the Bridger Mountains. And like, I mean, that's just incredible. Like to be able to just watch that come up.
Yeah.
So I think, it does happen where you live in one spot for a long time and you start to you don't really notice them. But I think it's like we were talking about earlier, you just got to stop and just recognize like what you have, like how cool that is.
Well, it's funny because like that stuff changes, right, when you allow it to. Because, oh yeah, Greg, bring it over. Jason,
Gotta do his calisthenics first.
He's stretching. Jason wants a chaw. Bring it over.
Oh, dude.
I'm gonna eat one of these Wagyu meatball.
Were you a gymnast at one point in your life? Well,
It's close enough.
yeah, you get put in awkward
You get-
positions.
You got to wear the tights.
Let me guess.
He was in it for the singlet.
Let me guess. Oh, ladies. One time I wore boxer shorts in my singlet when I was wrestling. Not a good idea. Looked like I was wearing a diaper. And then you can't take your boxer shorts off because then you're just straight free balling in your singlet.
Did you get laughed off the mat?
Yeah. I feel like my brother was on the team. He's like, holy shit. What are you doing, man?
Oh, that's funny.
I was like, yeah, they are bunching a little bit. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie to you. Anyway, back to passion for life. I like it when we can switch subjects. These Wagyu meat chunks on this
They're
pizza
amazing.
are legit.
So who's gonna go first and have a piece of pizza? Like who's gonna
I think maybe Sam, you go, and then Jason and I will describe you eating it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really gonna enjoy this.
Dig in.
He's going deep. He's pulling it out. He looks excited.
I am.
That's not even that meaty of a piece. I'm a little disappointed in you. That piece
Oh.
beside it is
He could go
that
burger
one.
style.
Oh, he's putting two pieces together.
He's sandwiching it.
Unbelievable. Nobody saw this coming. Oh. Yeah, he's going two pieces at once.
Well, that way, yeah, then
friends.
you can less time off the mic too. You're doubling up.
You're
That's-
doubling up.
See, Sam's always been a thinker.
Yeah,
and that's what I
you
love
don't get
about
to where
him.
Sam. You don't get to like a semi-homeless Instagram star by just not being an innovator.
That's true.
Sam,
Think
give
of-
us a halftime update. You're halfway through. What's how you feeling?
This is delicious.
Yeah.
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 And that is true. You don't get to where I am without having lots of ideas.
Lots of good and bad.
Some good, some bad.
Lots of good and bad ideas. This would probably be a good time to talk about conservation, particularly sheep hunting and hunters. Because I want to talk to as many people as I can about this, especially yourself, and some people like Gray Thornton, who is the CEO. Is it CEO or president?
Yeah,
CEO?
president and
President,
CEO
so
of
the Wild Sheep
Wild
Foundation. He's a good man.
He is.
And we'll podcast with him later this week. We got one guy eating pizza. We got one guy. Jason's taking a break to drink his beer.
I'm
Sam's
listening though.
Sam's about 2/3 of the way.
Yep.
My people are riveted right now. Guaranteed.
It should be.
They should be. This is special.
Pizza works.
I feel like I have myself am not conflicted on sheep hunting, sheep hunters, and conservation. Like there's some nuanced things that I've had to think through over my time and seeing kind of what conservation does for the animal but also separated from the general motivation of the regular sheep hunter, and the fact that sheep hunting is expensive. It's for a small amount of people, and can be labeled as elitist if you'd like to think about it that way. So I imagine I say all that to say, like, my question is, if somebody were to say to you, all sheep hunters are trophy hunters, and the conservation is some kind of veiled attempt to, allow trophy hunting to continue, but just pay into conservation as a way to, shield your true intent, what would you tell them?
Well, I'd tell them that they should thank everybody for the efforts that have been done, because there's been nobody else out there doing a damn thing. I would tell them that 70% of all funding for sheep, for wild sheep in North America, is funded by the Wild Sheep Foundation. And, I didn't understand until recently, talking to Gray, talking to Kevin Hurley. Wild sheep they're not a hardy enough animal to live on their own through the system that's put in place by state and federal agencies right now. There's not enough funding that comes in for the demand needed to keep and put wild sheep on the mountain. Yeah. They're an expensive animal. And I tell people all the time, like, you would like to believe that, it's all just God's creation when you drive down the road and you see a deer off the side, or you see a bighorn sheep, sign flashing on the side. But man, there's a lot of human, interaction to make sure those animals are there. And wild sheep are the pinnacle of that. I would say you're right in the fact that I do think a lot of people look at it as expensive and elitist, but dude, look at me. I mean, I'm not rich by any means, and I've had the opportunity to hunt those beautiful things twice in my life by putting in what's it cost now in Montana? Like $10 application.
Yep.
I mean, unfortunately, like, my biggest expense was film permits.
Yeah.
For the whole entire thing. So it's like, to say you've got to you got to buy the sheep tag for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, thank goodness there are men out there with that kind of opportunity to do that. But no, you don't need to be that. I mean, and the wild sheep continues to be innovative in the way they, like the Less Than One Club. Oh, you become a member of the Less Than One Club. That's about your best opportunity to draw a sheep tag in your life.
And I always make a joke that it's less a joke and more a reality, that you go to the Wild Sheep Convention, which is this like awesome, fun, so great celebration of that community of people. You just like go to the urinal taking a piss. You're like, you're entered to win a sheep hunt. You go around the corner, like, another sheep hunt. You entered to win. And you're like, really? This is, if it was elitist, it wouldn't be this.
Yeah, and people are winning these hunts, and that's what gets you there. And and beyond, the state draws and all that, there is the wild sheep, and there are those opportunities. I mean, I'm a lifetime member of the Wild Sheep Foundation. Just for that, they draw a sheep hunt every year for a life member. When you look at those odds,
pretty good
odds.
Better than the Montana.
Totally. I mean, and then I'm a member of the Montana Wild Sheep Foundation. They draw a sheep hunt every year for a life member. Then I'm a member of the Chadwick Ram Society, which for every $250 you donate to Chadwick Ram Society, your name's put in the hat to win a stone sheep hunt. So, say what you will, but I'm an active participant in as much of this. I put in for Wyoming. I put in for other states. I'm an active participant. There's a lot of upfront cost with some of this, but man, it pays dividends on into the future, and getting back to wild sheep, I mean, they're just so fragile. Without the funding that came in through the wild sheep and these tag sales that are auctioned off every year, our opportunities as Montana residents, would just dwindle. We've got 126, I think, tags right now that we can draw for. And without the, say, $500,000 every year that comes in from these sales, it would go to whatever, 100 tags and then 75 tags and then 50. And so I always try to have these conversations with as many people as I can and say, look, don't hate on that guy, man. Without that guy, we wouldn't even have the chance to put in for these areas.
Yeah. And to your point, it's easy to say, you look at that one tag that went for $500,000 and be like, oh, well, no regular hunter can get that. But to your point, you live in Montana, you live in places where sheep are present, you have chances. They're limited chances, as they should be, because the animal is fragile. And, these are biologists, wildlife biologists calling shots. Here's how many you can kill this year.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a point that needs to be made. Well, one thing I always, also ran into this. I had another person write in specifically about sheep hunting that said it's an old white man's game.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
I was like, what are you talking about? It's an old white man's game. And it went back to the money thing. It was like, well, just rich guys can do it. Only rich guys can do it. That's all it is. Just rich guys. Like, one, you need those rich guys but two, it's not. That's not true.
I mean, I've only ever lived in Montana my whole life. I know of other opportunities and things, but to get to it, Montana has unlimited sheep areas. If you put in, you will get the sheep tag. You can go sheep hunting. Every single year. Once that quota's been met. Now, if you kill a ram, you're taken out for your 7 years. But you can go hunt sheep with the tag in your pocket every single year in Montana if that's what you want to do. And once those 1 or 2 rams are killed in those units, they shut it down. But, that is not a rich man's sport. I know so many people, not so many, but a good grip of people out of Bozeman that do that unlimited thing every year, and they love it. They love the challenge. They love to just know they hold the sheep tag.
Yep.
I mean,
instead of saving up for 10 years to go on one sheep hunt,
they can hunt every year.
Yeah, you're going.
They can look at rams
every single
year.
They
can make stocks. They can, they can be sheep hunting. You live in like British Columbia residents can hunt sheep every single year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Alaska residents have a lot of great opportunities to hunt sheep. So, I mean, it's how bad do you want it? Yeah. Don't say that.
Move to Alaska.
Move to Canada.
Well, and
whoa.
Sorry.
I mean, it just takes. Yeah, sheep aren't everywhere in North America, and that's the biggest challenge. I wish they were. I wish Wild Sheep Foundation wishes they were. They're such an awesome animal. Once you have the chance to spend time with them, you're like, man, if more people had the time to spend with these things, they'd love them. They'd care about them more,
Yeah.
Because they're for everybody. They're not just for the guy that draws the tag. They're everybody's to enjoy.
Yeah. What is it about, if you look at if you're just judging what's on their heads and the charismatic nature of the animal, you'd pick something else. Wild sheep are in the terrain they live in is magnificent, but the animal that they are, you can find something with a bigger set of antlers on top of its head. You certainly find something that's, that in the rut is a little more interesting to hunt.
Like, do you think if wild sheep did some sort of a bugle or a roar like a elk or a
I don't
stag,
know though, the butt in the head thing, that is pretty damn impressive.
When we got to see that when we were scouting in August, I mean, it wasn't even close to the rut, and they were still clashing heads. Like, that was pretty cool. I had no idea how far that noise carried.
It just pops.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at sheep that were over a mile away, and it was like someone sat next to you and clapped their hands.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I mean, when that's just it. Like, I spent so much time with them this fall, I gained a whole new respect for them. Like, you say this until you have a chance to be around them. And then it's like watching a college rugby team out on Main Street down at the bars every night. Like, it's like, I feel like it's watching like the men of nature. Like, they are always fighting. They're always like pushing on each other. They're always like kicking each other in the balls. They're always just messing with each other. And they're just like bodybuilders out there,
Yeah. I bring that all up just because it's annoying to me that some of the things you hear. Being a kid from the East Coast, like that's how it's portrayed. It's like sheep hunters, the Western elitist way to live.
Sure. Yeah.
And for anybody listening, just freaking listen, do your research and understand, and also understand that there's a deeper reason why people appreciate sheep the way they do. It's not just because they got big curling horns coming out of their heads. Because again, there are many animals that are, if you're just looking at the look of an animal or feel of an animal, there are many animals that are just as impressive, I would say. I've hunted caribou and elk and mule deer, and all of them are equally as impressive and equally impressive terrain. So, having never sheep hunted, I would lean on guys like yourself to explain to people, like, there is this innate feeling around those animals because, one, they are so delicate. Two, their habitat is so delicate. And there's such a rarity that they do become this like hunting royalty that should be a little bit above, all the other things you might go chase.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know what the answer to saying that it's just an old white man's game, I guess. Probably just more where they live.
Yeah.
And just, you look at regions of populations, and that's just where they live, know. I think if they lived in more places, they'd be viewed differently. But unfortunately, they're so fragile. They take such a specific habitat need to make it that there's just not tons of those areas in North America. And trust me, like Wild Sheep, Kevin, all those guys work really hard to try to find the best areas to move new populations in, to open up new tag opportunities. It says it in the film, and don't quote me, but it's basically just under $5,000 a sheep
Yeah, something like
they
that.
pay
Sheep back on the mountain
to move them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and translocation just in and of itself, the things that they've done. I mean, I think the stories are well told on the elk populations in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, places like that. Sheep less so. I mean, to some extent, but less, really less storied than those places.
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot, like your films coming out. There's a film that I work with Ben Masters and Adam Foss and Charles Post on about reintroducing those same sheep to Texas in their native range. And you learn a lot from that. You learn that we are the reason that they're not here anymore. And so why not, of all, and it's not just hunters. Hunters didn't kill all the sheep in Texas. You like ranchers that put domestic sheep there and spread disease.
Yeah.
Really, then you got habitat fragmentation and different things like that to go on. So it's not just a hunter going in and killing them, or not just market hunters killing them. There's a lot of things that that cause that to happen. So you got to understand that, as much as we're at fault, how many groups other than hunters have taken up the charge to put these things back where they belong and to care for them.
Well, that's just it. I mean, that's why I say, like, to people that say it's selfish, I mean, I think, there maybe is a little bit of selfish aspect to every bit of wildlife conservation, but, like we said in Project Elk, we shouldn't apologize for it. Look at what it's done. Look at what the numbers have done. Look, there's no other system in place. There's no other better conservation method across the world. And it's not just hunters who get to enjoy them. Everybody who drove up and down the Gallatin Canyon today got to enjoy that.
Yeah.
So, there is always a little bit of self-servingness with it, but it's not for big animals. It's not for, it's just for the greater good of the herds and making sure that when my kids' have a chance to drive up the Gallatin Canyon, hopefully they get to experience the same thing we did.
Yeah.
And, it's habitat, we live in a world where everything's at our fingertips and everything is manufactured and fake. And well, habitat's not, and it can't be manufactured. And when it's gone, it's gone. And that's why it's awesome that Sam and has taken, this awareness to make sure that, keep the public lands we have public, because we got it pretty damn good right here, better than anybody else. And it'd be a shame to see all that go away.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we're not worried about roads going away. Like, man, protect the roads.
Right.
But when wilderness goes away, sure, we could likely get it back, but it won't be the same. As soon as it's fracked, as soon as it's mined, as soon as it's that resource has changed forever. And
Totally.
how many of the things that we talk about, Sam can tell you this, especially from your family's political background.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how many times are we blind to the fact that we are fixing a problem that we created? We're even in the hunting community, we say, like, we're celebrating this thing, but it's only because we fucked it up. Not we, but 3 generations of humans ago.
Yeah, just unregulation and
yeah. And
it's not knowing how fragile the resource truly was.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I think that's like when you talk about fragile habitat, that's where the reality is. A forest fire burns through a place, and you're like, oh, I see. Oh crap, I see. Yep. Glaciers recede.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go up to Glacier National Park and watch that go down. You're like, whoa, I get this now. That's a tangible way to understand the change.
Totally. Well, a forest fire is different than a glacier.
Sure, absolutely. 100% absolutely.
Not that you don't know that, but forest fires are painful to watch and to see this beautiful landscape get ripped apart. But then you're like, well, it's the best thing for it.
Yeah, it's the best thing for it. Yeah. It's almost
it's
almost the natural opposite of a glacier, because that glacier's likely in our time not coming back.
Exactly. Yeah.
The fact that Glacier National Park won't have any glaciers at some point.
Yeah, and they're actively saying that to folks.
Yeah.
Hey, come on over. You got about 3 years. And it's there's gonna be some ice cubes up there or something like that.
Right.
Well, but all those things are just signify the way the landscape's changed and the way that we should be, as humans, we should be like, well, let's identify those changes and figure out how we can do it. Which is a good way that sheep hunters have taken it up. They're like, we desire to chase and kill the most mature animal. In fact, we now understand how to, and you spent a lot of time studying this, as you were saying. We now understand how to figure that out, how to figure out by looking at an animal exactly how old it is. And then our state wildlife biologists have told us it's got to be that old. If not, that's as illegal as shooting a 1-year-old.
For sure.
And so all those things, I think, are just a big part of why I've heard more negative about sheep hunting that I care to count, and it just irks me every time. So, like, if you just stop and listen and look and read, you'll soon come to find that the easily marketable $480,000 tag is not any part of the story. It's one tiny little part of it that can easily be flipped. But what can't be easily flipped is what Gray Thornton and the Wild Sheep Foundation are doing and what you're helping promote.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a collaborative effort for sure, and it's cool to see. I mean, yeah, sheep at one time were, as far as we could tell, were in the millions in population, and then like way down in the 50,000 to 70,000, somewhere in there, and once we recognized how fragile they were and started putting this conservation foot forward and started relocating animals, and I mean, we're threefold where we were only 20, 30 years ago on sheep population. So, yeah, I mean, unregulated hunting, disease spread from domestic livestock, a lot of things played that factor. But, I just don't think we understood how fragile everything was even 30 years ago. You start to realize how everything...
How big of an impact it has when you do change even one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is up to all of us to take care of it. And
well, the romantic idea is just to let everything self-regulate, right? You'd like to believe that nature can just take care of itself, but that would be excluding us from nature. And so you always have to realize that because we're part of it and because we have screwed things up, like we need to do a lot to help fix that problem. Even though 50 years from now, we might go, remember when we thought we fixed that problem? Well, we screwed this up. Now we got to fix that.
100%.
I mean, that's going to happen.
You look back at every generation. Sure. Every generation of humans looks back at the other generation like, idiots. Yeah. Smoking while pregnant? Dummies. Like, every generation looks back.
Yeah.
And so if we were smart enough, we could identify the things we're doing right now. That would, a couple of years from now, you look back and be like,
yeah, I definitely should not have done that.
Prescription medicine and fast food, you guys are dumb. Why were you doing that? Yeah. We're idiots.
I think that's the cool part about conservation organizations like Wild Sheep is I think all of them are now more forward thinking when they start to implement plans of, whether it be habitat restoration or, whatever it might be. I think they're starting to look a lot, looking into the past and what we've done wrong, and then looking way further in the future, like what we need to do to get there. So,
yeah. For sure. It's a good time to shift to another film that you guys did together this time. Well, I guess the other film was together as well, but it was called Both Sides of the Fence.
Yeah.
What it was?
What was the official title? Other Side of the Fence?
Both sides. Yeah,
both sides.
Both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
Sam, tell me what that was about.
So we did a collaboration, a little bit surrounding the bus project, a little bit surrounding,
Jason's going to go to use the facilities, and I'm going to eat a piece of pizza while
I'll start talking.
Give me about 3 minutes to eat this pizza, Sam.
I can handle that. Yeah, so we did a collaboration to kind of talk about what I was up to with the bus project and public lands and the importance of public lands, and then combining that with the issue of kind of where we've gone in the hunting industry today, that anytime somebody, takes an animal, everyone always asks the question, well, was that public or private? And this kind of infighting that we have now, like that for some reason, shooting the same animal on private land doesn't mean as much as shooting an animal on public land. And so we wanted to dive into that a little bit and kind of look at it from both sides of the fence, the name of the film, but we wanted to look at it from both angles and show that we need public land and we need private land, and both need to coexist together, because without private land, you have no, a lot of times you wouldn't have a sanctuary for herds of animals. Late season, you wouldn't have sanctuary for animals when, gun season start, or, when there's a lot of hunters entering the woods during archery season. You have a lot of animals shift on to places where they can stay safe. The herd can grow bigger, but you also need public land for people to be able to access, enjoy, the things that are like, people like Teddy Roosevelt and stuff have put in place, but also to access those places and manage the herds. And you can do that without paying anything. It's just being a U.S. citizen, or just coming here, you have access to all of that land. So we wanted to look at it from both angles and show that both are important and we need both. And it's not like, it doesn't matter if you hunt private land or public land. It doesn't matter if you hunt with a gun or a bow. It doesn't matter, whatever you do, it's just what you do. And it all needs to coexist together.
Do you imagine because public land has become super trendy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super trendy.
Like part of that is good and part of that is bad.
Oh, we've seen, real, I'm heavily involved with BHA. Obviously you are.
Yep.
Obviously you're involved with Wild Sheep and RMEF and BHA and a bunch of other organizations. Like everybody sitting at this table we got a little street cred when it comes to this conversation, but there's plenty of people who are just trying to sell widgets by stamping public lands on them because people will buy it.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, it's not the worst thing in the world. Certainly not something I would lobby against, but it is something that I would bring up as like, hey, let's have this conversation in an honest way. This public land's cool because it's a great feeling, because it's nice to be like, public lands, it's all of ours. It's great. It's American freedom. Or are we willing to roll our sleeves up and go to work on it? Like what public land means. So I appreciate that idea about let's understand the totality of, especially even driving down the Gallatin River, you go from private land to national forest in the canyon, driving up the Big Sky.
Yeah. Anywhere you go in Montana, that's what you encounter. And I think that's why it gave us a chance we've dealt with it our whole lives. There is places you can go, and different animals require different hunts, but we've dealt with checkerboarded properties. We've dealt with property lines. We've dealt with, and thank goodness for OnX to be able to really allow us to know exactly where we're at, so we don't end up on the wrong side of where we shouldn't be or whatever. But I think it's just, and when you grow up around the farmers and the ranchers and you're part of them and they're a part of you in the community, and you see what good they do, and you see what good people they are. All private land is different, and we made that point in the film. It's not all gonna be like going and hunting like the White Mountain Apache Indian Reservation or these Ted Turner's ranch just down at the base of the Gallatin Canyon that's got great hunting. I think the misconception is a lot of people think, private land, it's there's just big stuff. There's just animals everywhere. The opportunity is abundant. And when you live in a place like Montana, you have this grand scale of private land, just like public land, where, I know private land that the fact that you can drive everywhere, and the fact that you can, and these people allow anybody to come and hunt. It is far worse off than just walking a little ways onto public. I'll get into way more stuff there, so just to say you're on private doesn't mean there's just vast herds like the savannah out there when you walk out. Now, there are ranches that are, but there's this whole sliding scale in the middle. Some allow 100, some allow 500, some allow the family, some, and it's all different. And trust me, like hunting public land in Montana is the same. I've got great public land spots, and I've got spots that used to be good that aren't, and it's just constantly shifting. And I think if you look at, the success of a hunt or the quality of a hunt by what side of the fence that animal is standing on. I don't want to say you're missing it because everybody's out there for different reasons, but man, that's not why I'm there. I'm there to enjoy the experience. I'm there to learn about the animals, submerge myself in their world, hear the elk bugles, smell the smells, get these close encounters. And man, I'll tell you, it's never, when you get close to an elk, my heart beats just the damn same, no matter what side of the fence that thing is on.
If you're somehow calmed at the moment that an elk is bugling in your face,
there's something wrong with you.
We got to talk. Like, you may be a serial killer.
Yeah,
we need to talk, because that's a gut wrenching.
It comes down to a numbers game too. I mean, our percentage as a population is so low now, we're almost irrelevant in society, sadly enough. And when you look at, I think the most recent number we could come up with was from 2013, a study that was done on the number of private land versus public. And at that time, I think the number was 13.4 million hunters in the U.S., and of those 13.4, only 1.2 million of them hunted exclusively on public land.
Yeah.
So if we're going to break it down to, you're only a real hunter if you hunt on public land exclusively, and we want to cast aside the other 12.2 million of us.
I think people that hunt on public lands exclusively are elitist. They're, it's only 1.2 million of it. You got your little club. You won't let anybody else in. You're assholes. That's just the facts.
Well, it's just, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine the other day, David Brinker. We all know him. And he goes, how would you look at me? Am I a private land hunter or a public land hunter? And I said, you do both. He goes, exactly. I think that's going to be so many people you ask, but it's become so trendy and so uncool to not say DIY, did it myself, public land, 14 miles in, basically killed myself. I just don't get it. I look at guys like my dad who have been doing it forever. Are we just not going to call him a hunter now because he can't hike into the backcountry and kill an elk? Dude, that guy has forgot more about hunting.
I had to smoke 6 cigars during this private land. My lungs are killing me, man. Can barely make it. No, it's an interesting topic because it comes back to that purity score we were talking about again. Like, I've hunted on some private land where I felt like the scenario was such that I should have done more work to earn the thing that I got. So that's one thing. That's one private land. That's a little bit more prevalent on private land than it is on public land, just because the nature of the thing.
You bet.
But if you have an ideal and you go out on the mountain or in the woods and say, this is the thing that I'm looking for. Here's my 10 out of 10 purity score, and I'm going to go after it. You'd be foolish to be like, I'm only going to do public land. Or am I only going to do... You'd be foolish if the opportunity comes up to achieve the thing you're looking for. Who the hell cares who owns it?
Right.
Who cares? Like I said, it's easier to have reverence for public land because it is such a, majestic idea, and it's an American ideal and all the things like that. That is
beautiful.
But so is private land. So is homesteading. So is setting out and being lucky enough to find some land and being lucky enough to then own that land and to grow that land and manage that land and have a wonderful herd of animals on that land, and then being able, as the landowner, to select who gets to enjoy that privilege. That's just as beautiful. So, well, I'm with you guys.
Like Shane Mahoney has said before, told us in Phoenix that, he's like, private land is the new frontier for conservation. And I think that's just about as simple and clean as he is so good at doing that you could say it. Because you think about, what if we were only given, say we just like completely eliminate private land guys from the equation and we're only given public lands to manage our wildlife on. I mean, that'd be a disaster to try to get everybody on the same page.
Oh boy.
Well, it's just not possible.
So what, I'll tell you though, you're right. There's this level. There is nothing more rewarding than busting your ass for what you get. Now, that's not to be said you can't do that on private land.
I think there's where the issue comes. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's how you feel. about what's happened there. Like I said, I've had some private land hunts that were guided that I felt like, man, okay. Yep. I'm glad I get to salt this place and I'll get to eat this animal's flesh and it's all good. All that's good. But like my purity score is like a 4.
Yeah, you just didn't feel like you really earned it.
Yeah, and I didn't get a sense of the place, really a sense of the animal like I thought I should have.
That's the way I felt when I hunted Africa.
Yeah.
I was just
so did I.
there.
Same.
And there's animals running everywhere. You have no idea where they bed, where water is, where they feed, what they feed on, what times of day they like to move. I'm completely lost. And was it an awesome experience with my dad? Was it like trip of a lifetime? Hell yeah, it was. But was like the sense that I got from killing my kudu the same as, Sam and I busting our ass to get a shot at an elk? It's not that same, you don't feel like you earned it because you didn't understand why you're there.
Yeah.
You're put there because...
Well, it's like hunting in a Walmart. They're like, well, down aisle 4 is the kudu. You're like, well, fuck that. I'd like to just walk around and find one. They're like, well, no, we go drive over to the giraffe paddock. There's no fences, but the fuckers, they're right over there. Tall trees. They tend to like tall trees. Well, and there's only 7 of them. But like, that's how I felt hunting in Africa. I felt the same way. I just felt like I was hunting in some kind of damn like marketing ploy.
Yeah,
in certain parts. Now, not all of Africa. Africa is a damn continent.
Right.
So we don't talk. I always say like we don't talk about North America like that. Like
true.
That North America hunt, that son of a bitch.
Yeah. Where I was it just didn't give me that.
Yeah, I was the same way, and not that there's places on the Capri Strip where you feel like you're in it, man. But where I was like, oh, okay, I see. Like, and you've been to New Zealand at all?
I have not. That's bucket list, though.
Well, Sam and I know a spot.
Yes, we do.
I could check that thing off. Like Sam and I have been down there, and in Africa and New Zealand especially, it seemed to me like they have harvested like the worst ideals of our hunting culture and just sold it back to us. They're just like, hey, you're in Africa, you want to come kill a list of creatures that you have no idea about and we'll learn nothing about really unless you really push us? Come on. We'll sell you each one. Each one of them has a cost fact, and you can kill as many as you want. Conservation, I don't know what you're talking about with that. New Zealand, same way. Like, hey, come kill a 500-inch red stag. That's what you're here to kill. And I think less Africa, more New Zealand in that sense. New Zealand has this like breadth of public places and even private ranches where you can have great experiences. That what's sold to you is not quite what's there. In Africa, the entire thing is to value the animals through the dollars. So they are selling, upselling, selling again to get that value,
right?
Which is important to them. So both those places, like they kind of oversell what's there, and you gotta kind of erase that and get down to the freaking actual, what is actually happening to for me get the purity score high enough to enjoy the damn thing.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a business to them. They got a certain amount of time to run people through, and they've figured out how to do it. You don't get to spend 28 days on the mountain with an animal trying to figure them out.
Yeah, and
or 21 days and not shoot something.
Yeah, which was my elk season, elk season, I should say.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how long 21 days hunting is. That's long.
It's long.
That's long. That is.
Yeah, but you just keep thinking, it's like golf. Like, I just wasn't putting good today, but tomorrow, if I get the putting down, best round of my
day
life.
20. It's my 20th Masters.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the green jacket this time.
Eventually, it's all going to come together just one day.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you
You wake
out
up
there,
at 4 in the morning, you're like, well... Day 19, this is it.
It's like lion hunting. I had, one year I remember I was in it like 23 days straight checking canyons and no tracks. And I'm like, I can't stop. I mean, if I miss one day, that's going to be the day he crosses and I'm going to miss it. And it just kept going and going and going. And finally we ended up finding a cat. But man, you just get in this groove of like, I'm so committed.
Yeah.
And we've put all this in, and we do have more time, and there just might be that chance. The rut, might be winding down, but you find that one bowl.
Yep.
And it's just those little things that just keep you wanting to chase it right to the end.
That's the difference between, not good and bad, but that's just the difference between that ultimate, like, you have that persistent nature throughout your entire hunting life. You're eventually going to stumble into some greatness, or,
For sure.
At least what's perceived greatness, some giant animal somewhere because you were there and nobody else was, or,
That's, I've always said, like, I'm not like successful because I'm the greatest hunter and make all the best moves. It's just time in the field, and eventually things come together,
Yep.
And being lucky enough to, have that time in the field. Shit.
Yeah.
That's
something not a lot of people get.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't take it for granted either.
No, me either. Well, this pizza is well cold, but it's still
it still looks so good.
I know, it's starting to look like sheep meatballs on top of that. Same way we got Ranella likes to call them concluders. Sam, do you have any conclusions from this conversation?
I feel like we covered. I mean, we went real deep just on life. We covered a lot of stuff about conservation. I think kind of the takeaway from this whole thing is just, well, I mean, on the life side, like, just find what you're passionate about and go after it, and just keep allowing those opportunities to happen. And on the conservation side of things, I think what we're trying to do a good job of is just raise awareness about the possibilities for people to be involved in this type of thing. And now the next step is for everybody listening to go out there and do a little research on their own and just become part of the solution to helping, make herds better and make hunting better, and help the community as a whole, the hunting community as a whole, come together. I think that's the next step for them. Like, we can't do it. We can, talk, we can beat it to death. Like, people need to be involved, but it comes down to every person individually, going out there and doing what they need to do to save these types of things for future generations.
Give what you can. You may not have all the money or all the time, but give the money and the time that you can.
That's right.
Whether it's tiny little bits here and there, every amount counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes down to the analogy, like, when I was a little kid, if I were to want to take a rock or a stick or something, my mom would say, what if everybody in the world took a stick? Would there be any sticks left? And it's kind of the same thing. What if everybody in the world just did a little bit, make a huge difference, That's it. And I just feel lucky to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys, and it's been a pleasure. And really looking forward to the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. We're this is Thursday. We're damn near into Friday morning now.
We've
crossed. Yeah, we've crossed into Friday morning. So tomorrow evening, we'll be debuting your Circle of Life film.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh
yeah, it is tomorrow.
Well,
all
right. You're right.
You're on.
Yeah. What's up? It's up now.
You got it. You got it.
I get the last piece of pizza.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll be debuting that here in Big Sky. And so by the time people hear this, that'll have already happened. But it's going to be a good event, and happy to. And there again, it's just another opportunity to bring people together, celebrate a thing that we do that's pretty unique to this place and time. This time, because conservation is still fairly new to our humanity, and so is this model of conservation that we have. It's fairly unique to this world that we live in. So, thank you, boys, for being a part of that. Pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Feel lucky.
Greg, any concluders from you?
Well done, boys.
Greg is full now. His shoes are on the bed. He is checked out. All right. Thanks to Pizza Works. We're going deep. Bye.
Thank you.
That's it. That's all. Episode number 21 in the books. Thanks to Jason Matzinger. Thanks to Sam Soholt. Thank you to our boy in the background, Greg, for hanging out, eating pizza late night here in Big Sky. It was a fun conversation. It's what I live for. It gets me pumped up. Smart people, drinking beer, having a good conversation. And thankfully we get to record it. So episode number 21, hope you liked it. Episode number 22, we're going to be here in Big Sky again. David Wise, Olympic gold medal skier in the half pipe. And then you've got Giannis Metellus from the Media Crew, and Sam Soholt joins us once again for episode number 22. But before we go this time, I just want to say one thing. In the last episode with Charles Post, episode number 20, we mentioned at the very end briefly that I would be moving to Montana. Now, some folks thought I might be kidding, or some folks thought that it might be hopeful, but turns out it's true. I'm moving to Bozeman, Montana in the coming months. It's a big step for me and my family. We're moving from Texas to Montana. We're excited about that big step, and there's other big announcements to come soon. What will be the future of the Hunting Collective and really my career as well. Some exciting things. Hopefully everyone will stick with us as we make those changes that are really only helpful to the podcast and to the platform and the message. Hopefully it'll be exciting to you as it is to me. So we'll keep talking about it next time on the Hunting Collective. See you.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. After 3 years of work, our follow-up to the Meat Eater Fish and Game Cookbook is here. It's the Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, campfire, and camp stove. Here is your book for everything that's best cooked or eaten outside. From grilling to open fire cooking to Dutch ovens to smokers to barbecue to backpacking meals to how to pull off the perfect fish fry, with pit stops along the way for lessons about Ice Age cooking methods and the best 5 ways to construct a cooking fire you can be proud of. And of course, we're focusing on wild game and fish here with over 100 recipes, including stuffed venison burgers 3 ways, wild duck with ahi verde sauce, a jerky made with cola, a gin and tonic made with fire-charred lemons, and grilled frog legs made with a sticky sweet sauce. This ain't your normal cookbook, so be prepared to be surprised. Get your copy now. For more info, visit themeateater.com or buy it wherever books are sold.